Dick Van Dyke, 99, is a well-known stage and movie performer who's enthralled audiences with his charisma and skill for decades. But behind the scenes, things weren't relatively as peaceful as they seemed. In an honest admission, Van Dyke talked about a co-star with whom he had a lot of conflict while they were dating. This surprising revelation highlights the difficulties he encountered while having a prosperous profession. Come along as we examine this little-known aspect of Van Dyke's life, delving into the nuances of his business partnerships and revealing the real cause of the hostility that persisted off-screen. Early life and aspirations. Dick Van Dyke was born Richard Wayne Van Dyke in West Plains, Missouri on December 13, 1925. He grew up primarily in Danville, Illinois. His early years were influenced by limited means and strong family values because he was raised during the Great Depression. His mother, Hazel Victoria, was a stenographer, and his father, Loren Wayne Van Dyke, was a traveling salesman. Early on, Van Dyke fell in love with performing, frequently amusing his peers with stories and funny impressions. Interestingly, he initially wanted to be a preacher and even thought about attending seminary. However, his high school theater instructor recognized his stage presence and urged him to pursue acting. He gradually turned his attention to entertainment, influenced by the heyday of radio and vaudeville acts. Jerry Van Dyke, his younger brother, would go on to become a well-known comedian in his own right. Van Dyke's destiny as one of Hollywood's most adored entertainers was made possible by these early years. Military service during World War II. Like many young men of his generation, Van Dyke felt compelled to serve as World War II grew more intense in the 1940s. He tried to join the U.S. Army Air Forces in 1944 to become a pilot, but because he was underweight, he was turned down several times. He was adamant about helping, and he eventually obtained a position in the military as an entertainer and radio announcer in the American theater, where he entertained soldiers stationed at home. He was able to hone his voice, comedic timing, and public speaking abilities in this role, all of which would eventually be highly valued in the entertainment industry. Throughout his career, he would use comedy to help soldiers get through tough times, and this was one of his most memorable moments. Later, Van Dyke looked back on his duty with appreciation, stating that it strengthened his love of entertaining people and provided him with priceless experience performing live. Breakthrough with Bye Birdie. Van Dyke had established himself on television by the late 1950s, but Broadway was the thing that made him famous. He played the part of Albert Peterson, a neurotic yet endearing songwriter in the musical Bye Birdie in 1960. He stood out due to his natural charm, sense of humor, and talent for physical humor. He demonstrated that he was a genuine theatrical talent and not merely a television personality by winning a Tony Award for Best Featured Actor in a Musical for his performance. Due to the show's tremendous popularity, Van Dyke, Janet Leigh, and Anne Margaret returned for the 1963 film adaptation. The film became a smash because of his ability to combine meaningful moments with fun skillfully. Van Dyke later acknowledged that Bye Birdie was one of the most significant turning points in his career because it paved the way for even more ambitious endeavors, such as the Dick Van Dyke Show, which would come to define his legacy. The Dick Van Dyke Show. Van Dyke starred in the Dick Van Dyke Show, a sitcom that would go on to become one of the most cherished in television history in 1961. The show, created by Carl Reiner, followed Rob Petrie, who wrote comedy for a made-up variety show on television. The program was a huge success thanks to Van Dyke's flawless comedic timing, charming characters, and clever writing. His chemistry with co-star Mary Tyler Moore, who played his wife Laura, made his on-screen marriage more genuine and loving. Unlike many predecessors, the series depicted a more contemporary and relatable family dynamic, making it revolutionary. The program received 15 Emmy Awards over its 5-season run, and Van Dyke received 3 for his exceptional performance. Numerous comedians and television writers who came after it were influenced by The Dick Van Dyke Show, which is still hailed as one of the best sitcoms ever. Iconic role in Mary Poppins. When Van Dyke played Bert, the happy and multi-talented chimney sweep in Disney's Mary Poppins in 1964, he shot to prominence. His remarkable ability as an actor, singer, and dancer was displayed throughout his performance, featuring hits like Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious and Chim Chim Cheree. Bert, who co-starred with Julie Andrews, became one of the most adored characters in Disney history thanks to Van Dyke's contagious enthusiasm. However, his effort at a Cockney accent was mocked by many British viewers who thought it was ludicrously incorrect. Even Van Dyke, who subsequently joked that his dialect teacher was an American who failed to get it right, admitted how awful it was. Van Dyke's rendition of Mary Poppins continues to captivate audiences of all ages, and the beloved classic endures. He demonstrated that his theatrics were still unrivaled at 93, with a surprise appearance in Mary Poppins Returns in 2018, decades later. Struggles with alcoholism. Van Dyke's life behind the scenes wasn't as idyllic as his character on TV. His battle with alcoholism was one of his most significant personal challenges, which increased along with his celebrity. He acknowledged that drinking became a coping mechanism for him to deal with stress and self-doubt in his biography, My Lucky Life in and Out of Show Business. His addiction started to interfere with his personal and professional life, straining his marriage to Margie Willett and other connections. Van Dyke sought help after realizing that his drinking was getting out of control, and he eventually became sober. Since then, he's talked candidly about his experience to encourage those who are battling addiction. His narrative serves as a reminder that obstacles are inevitable for even the most accomplished people, and that with perseverance and encouragement, recovery is always achievable. Van Dyke's reputation as a beloved and esteemed entertainer was further enhanced by his ability to conquer his struggles and carry on bringing joy via his art. Marriage to Margie Willett. Van Dyke married Margie Willett in 1948, before anyone knew his identity. His early years as a struggling performer marked the beginning of their relationship, and Willett was there for him through thick and thin. At first, they led a modest life, even going on their honeymoon on a radio show that covered the cost of their vacation because they couldn't afford one. They had 4 kids together: Carrie Beth, Christian, Stacy, and Barry. But when Van Dyke's career took off, their marriage suffered from the demands of celebrity. Their relationship was affected by his lengthy workdays on set and personal issues with alcoholism. The pair had discreetly split up by the 1970s, and in 1984, after 36 years of marriage, they finally got a divorce. Van Dyke has consistently praised Willett despite the obstacles, admitting that their love was genuine, but eventually failed to survive the demands of Hollywood. Their tale is a tribute to the personal struggles even the most adored celebrities encounter and the sacrifices accompanying stardom. Relationship with Michelle Triola Marvin. After splitting from Margie Willett, Dick Van Dyke started a long-term romance with former singer and actress Michelle Triola Marvin. They first connected in the late 1970s when Van Dyke was going through a rough time in his life due to personal issues, including alcoholism. Michelle became a pillar of support for him, providing company and encouragement when needed. Despite never being married, they had a relationship that lasted for more than 30 years and was one of Van Dyke's most important relationships. After their long-term relationship ended, Triola sued actor Lee Marvin for financial support, which led to her famous legal struggle over palimony. Even though she lost the case, it established a precedent for unmarried couples' financial settlements. Van Dyke frequently talked about his intense love and respect for Triola, attributing his ability to stay balanced in his first years to her. When she passed away in 2009, he was devastated since he had lost a loyal friend. Later, marriage to Arlene Silver. Fans were taken aback when Van Dyke married Arlene Silver, a makeup artist, 46 years his junior in 2012, at the age of 86. Silver was a cosmetics artist at the Screen Actors Guild Awards in 2006, where the couple first met. Her generosity and sense of humor immediately won Van Dyke over, and they became friends before turning into lovers. Even though they were very different in age, they had a close relationship based on respect and humor. Van Dyke defended their connection in the face of criticism from numerous fans and media sources, saying that she gave him happiness and vitality. In response, Silver has frequently expressed how much she values Van Dyke's energy and sense of humor. The pair likes to perform together and often post humorous videos of themselves singing and dancing. According to Van Dyke, Silver has kept him youthful at heart, demonstrating that love is ageless. Their union continues to be a tribute to friendship, tenacity, and the ability to achieve contentment at any point in life. Career resurgence with diagnosis murder. Dick Van Dyke had a career comeback in the 1990s when he played Dr. Mark Sloan, a pleasant doctor who solved crimes using his investigative abilities, in the CBS medical crime thriller Diagnosis Murder. The 1993 to 2001 run of the show demonstrated Van Dyke's versatility as an actor by deviating from his typical humorous roles. The fact that he was able to collaborate with his real-life son, Barry Van Dyke, who portrayed Detective Steve Sloan, added even more significance to Diagnosis Murder. Their father-son relationship gave the show a more intimate feel, which increased viewers' enjoyment. Van Dyke disproved reviewers' early doubts about his ability to switch to a more dramatic character, winning accolades for his ability to strike a balance between humor and somber narrative. Throughout its 8-season run, the show gained popularity and devoted viewers. Diagnosis Murder continued to be a fan favorite even after it was canceled, securing Van Dyke's place in Hollywood for many years to come. The role that Van Dyke hated the most. Dick Van Dyke has said that despite a career of well-loved roles, he didn't particularly enjoy playing Caractacus Potts in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang in 1968. Even though the movie eventually became a classic, Van Dyke thought the storyline lacked the same charm as Mary Poppins, and the filming process was tedious. Constant comparisons between the two movies also annoyed him since they created irrational expectations. The physical demands of Chitty Chitty Bang Bang's intricate dance routines and action scenes added to the difficulty and left him worn out. Although moviegoers found the film's whimsical tone charming, Van Dyke didn't fully connect with it since he thought it lacked the depth of some of his other works. Despite his misgivings, many people grew to love the movie as a child, and Van Dyke's acting is now among its most memorable elements. When questioned about it in subsequent interviews, he frequently joked that it wasn't his best hour. His feud with a co-star. Dick Van Dyke was not exempt from onset conflicts, even though he was regarded as one of Hollywood's kindest leading men. According to reports, one of the most prominent behind-the-scenes disputes happened with co-star Maury Amsterdam, who played Buddy Sorrell on the Dick Van Dyke Show. Even though they had a lot of humorous chemistry on screen, Amsterdam's independent nature occasionally conflicted with Van Dyke's easygoing demeanor. Amsterdam was an experienced comic with a keen sense of humor and a propensity to control talks, often resulting in inventive arguments. Van Dyke subsequently acknowledged that dealing with such a dynamic group of characters might occasionally be tricky, even if their disagreements never turned into physical altercations. Nevertheless, the two stayed professional and respected each other's abilities despite these sporadic arguments. Audiences never suspected any struggle behind the scenes, and the stress never dominated their work. Later in life, Van Dyke recalled his experience on the program with fondness and admitted that there are always creative variances in a great production. The impact of his brother, Jerry Van Dyke. There were other members of Dick Van Dyke's family who also chose to go into show business. Jerry Van Dyke, his younger brother, followed in his footsteps, but he had many obstacles as well as possibilities. Although Jerry was a gifted actor and comic, he spent much of his career under the shadow of his older brother's fame. Even a position on the Dick Van Dyke Show was offered to him, but he turned it down out of concern that it would confirm their similarities. Instead, he decided to forge his career, playing several supporting parts before achieving fame in the 1980s as assistant coach Luther Van Dam in the popular sitcom Coach. The two brothers remained close despite their occasional sibling rivalry, frequently appearing together in TV programs and interviews. Jerry attributed his older brother with encouraging him to seek an entertainment career, and Dick often complimented him on humorous abilities. They remained close throughout their lives because they both loved performing. The challenges of aging in Hollywood. Dick Van Dyke spoke out more and more about the difficulties aging performers in Hollywood experience as he became older. Even while he continued to be active and open to parts, he discovered that most major companies prioritized younger talent, leaving elderly performers with few options. But instead of becoming unimportant, Van Dyke rose to the occasion and demonstrated that age was nothing more than a number. He kept playing parts well into his 90s, making cameos on TV series, and even returning to the big screen in Mary Poppins Returns, when he memorably danced at age 93. He's frequently voiced his displeasure with Hollywood's propensity to ignore older performers and argued in favor of more varied narratives that feature characters from multiple generations. His will to continue working in the field has inspired many, demonstrating that a love for one's work never disappears. The fact that Van Dyke is still active in Hollywood is evidence of the strength of skill, tenacity, and unchanging passion for acting. His views on modern Hollywood. Dick Van Dyke has maintained a close watch on contemporary entertainment trends, despite his continued status as a symbol of vintage Hollywood. He's frequently bemoaned the loss of authentic storytelling and actual effects and the industry's move toward CGI-heavy blockbusters. Van Dyke has expressed worries about the over-reliance on technology, contending that the performer's ability to perform without the use of artificial embellishments was what made old-school Hollywood so appealing. He has nevertheless also given recognition to several contemporary performers and directors who still place a high value on gripping stories and interesting characters. Van Dyke continues to assist emerging artists despite his criticisms, urging them to begin their careers on stage before moving on to cinema or television. He thinks performing live imparts priceless abilities impossible to duplicate in front of a green screen, such as humorous timing and audience participation. He expects to see a return to the kind of emotional storytelling that made his time in filmmaking so unique, even though he recognizes that Hollywood has changed. His surprising musical talents. In addition to his renowned acting and dancing abilities, Dick Van Dyke has a remarkable musical talent that frequently astounds admirers. Barbershop music has always been his passion, and he's played with several vocal groups, notably the Fantastics, a barbershop quartet he founded in his senior years. Van Dyke has been singing at public gatherings, charity fundraisers, and even social media videos that amuse his admirers far into his 90s. Beyond only performing, he intensely loves music and feels that singing is essential to being young and energetic. His innate ability to improvise and harmonize made his performances even more engaging, and his musicality also played a significant part in his well-known roles. His voice is still influential today, and he never fails to delight audiences with impromptu performances, demonstrating the importance of music in his life and legacy. His battle with health issues. Van Dyke's young demeanor and limitless energy hasn't shielded him from the physical issues associated with aging. He had back discomfort and arthritis from years of playing physically demanding roles, but he didn't want to slow down. He attributes his longevity to a combination of fitness, positive thinking, and a sense of humor. He disclosed in 2013 that he'd been suffering from neurological problems that were not adequately recognized, resulting in lightheadedness. Despite this, he continued his active lifestyle, dancing frequently and posting exercise videos to motivate his followers. He was determined to stay upright despite a vehicle accident in 2013 and a slight fall in 2021, smiling and accepting every challenge. Fans of all ages looked forward to him because of his ability to persevere through adversity, demonstrating the powerful impact that remaining active and keeping a good outlook can have. His advocacy for mental health. Even though Dick Van Dyke is frequently regarded as a representation of happiness and humor, he has experienced personal hardships, such as despair, especially following the death of a loved one. He's been candid about the adverse effects of mourning on mental health since the death of his longtime companion, Michelle Triola Marvin, in 2009. Van Dyke courageously shared his troubles during a period when mental health was not as widely publicized, urging others to get help rather than endure suffering in quiet. He has fervently supported maintaining mental and social activity into old age and encouraged people to discover their life's passion. Since many of his admirers have found solace in his comments, his openness about his struggles has only increased his relatability. By sharing his story, he's contributed to lowering the stigma associated with mental health and promoting the notion that even people who make other people laugh occasionally require care. His unbreakable spirit. Dick Van Dyke's seemingly indestructible enthusiasm is what distinguishes him from many other performers of his day. He is still an unstoppable force, singing, dancing, and entertaining audiences in any way he can as he gets older and closer to 100. Age is just a number, and demonstrated by his well-known participation in a boisterous dance performance on his 97th birthday. He's revealed in interviews that the keys to a long and contented existence are to keep himself active, maintain a sense of humor, and surround himself with positive energy. He enthusiastically embraces each moment, refusing to let aging define him. He remains a source of happiness and fortitude, whether making unexpected TV appearances, attending fan events, or posting inspirational quotes online. He is a living example of how enthusiasm and optimism can keep the soul young no matter how many years go by, as demonstrated by his refusal to let failures slow him down. His legacy in Hollywood. The impact that Dick Van Dyke has had on Hollywood is incalculable. Generations of performers have followed in his footsteps thanks to his seamless ability to combine charisma, sincerity, and physical humor. Many others have mentioned Van Dyke as an inspiration, including Broadway performers like Lin-Manuel Miranda and comedians like Jim Carrey. His role on The Dick Van Dyke Show transformed comedy on television and established a norm for sitcoms that's still in use today. Despite his notorious Cockney accent, his performance as Bert in Mary Poppins is still regarded as one of the most cherished roles in movie history. His contributions to Hollywood continued into his latter years when he voiced characters in animated movies and made cameos in television series. He is a timeless character because of his unwavering passion for entertainment, which guarantees his legacy will continue motivating upcoming audiences and artists. His career serves as evidence that genuine talent and devotion endure throughout time. The tragic losses that shaped him. Dick Van Dyke has suffered the heartache of losing some of the most significant individuals in his life throughout the years. He'd relied on his lifelong companion, Michelle Triola Marvin, for stability for more than 30 years. Thus, her death in 2009 was a heartbreaking blow. He was also profoundly impacted by the passing of his close friends and co-stars such as Carl Reiner and Mary Tyler Moore. Van Dyke has consistently chosen to celebrate their lives rather than mope over these tragedies. To preserve his and his admirers' memories of his departed pals, he frequently tells tales about them. He's found comfort in working, keeping in touch with his loved ones, and cherishing each moment he has left despite his loss. His fortitude in the face of loss is a motivational reminder that although sadness is unavoidable, love and treasured memories may lift one's spirits. His relationship with his children. Despite the demands of Hollywood, Dick Van Dyke has always put his family first. His children, Carrie Beth, Stacy, Christian, and Barry, grew up witnessing their father effortlessly balance fatherhood and celebrity. The most well-known of them, Barry, inherited his father's talent and displayed their innate chemistry by comparing him in Diagnosis Murder. Van Dyke has frequently expressed his pride in his children's character, as well as their professional accomplishments. He's remained close to them, regularly attending significant occasions and family get-togethers. As he grew older, he became an involved father and grandfather, savoring each moment spent with his loved ones. He has always believed that while family endures forever, fame is ephemeral. His devotion is demonstrated by his ability to balance the two worlds, showing that the Hollywood star is a devoted parent who values his family above all else. His secret to staying young at heart. Dick Van Dyke is getting close to 100, but he doesn't want to slow down. What's his secret? He keeps himself busy, thinks positively, and associates with positive people. Van Dyke never let his age define him, in contrast to many of his contemporaries who lost their prominence. He works out lightly, dances daily, and even shares video of himself remaining active. It's easy to forget how many decades he's been in show business because of his contagious laughter and carefree attitude. He often urges people to keep moving, keep laughing. He believes that movement is the secret to longevity, and his marriage to the much younger Arlene Silver has also contributed to his continued vitality. He often attributes his fresh energy to her. Van Dyke's attitude demonstrates that youth is a state of mind rather than age. Fans are still motivated by his continuous enthusiasm, which indicates that living well is more important than longevity. His undeniable influence on comedy. The influence of Dick Van Dyke on humor is incalculable. His distinctive approach, which combined physical humor with an endearing, approachable appeal, raised the bar for entertainment. He was compared to comedic greats like Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin because he was a master of slapstick, while never having it sound forced. Generations of comedians and actors were influenced by his work in The Dick Van Dyke Show, which transformed sitcoms. Stars like Steve Carell and Jim Carrey have praised Van Dyke's ability to make people laugh while expressing genuine emotion, calling him a big inspiration. His unafraid approach to comedy and improvisational skills ensured that his performances never felt outmoded. Van Dyke maintained his sense of humor into his senior years, frequently making unexpected TV appearances and delivering jokes in interviews. His contribution to comedy is more than just making people laugh. It's also about using humor and genuineness to connect with them. The award he cherishes most. Dick Van Dyke received various honors over his remarkable career, including a Grammy, a Tony, and several Emmys. However, the accolade that meant the most to him was the Kennedy Center honor, which he earned in 2021. Van Dyke was profoundly touched by the ceremony, which honored his contributions to American entertainment with this Lifetime Achievement Award. He was moved as friends and admirers honored his work while he sat in the audience, which was unusual for a man known for his sense of humor. In contrast to honors given for a single performance, the Kennedy Center honor honored his career in its totality, including his talent, tenacity, and the happiness he offered to millions of people. Van Dyke has maintained his humility despite all his honors, frequently stating that the joy and laughter he's been able to bring to audiences around the world is the best reward. If you've watched the video till here, that means you've enjoyed the video. Subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notifications bell icon